Welcome back, boys and girls. I hope you're having a good day wherever you are. As you can probably see by my clock, it's 6:07 a.m. and I'm starting to wake up. I've got a caffeinated beverage, so hopefully that will help. We're going to do a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to come back here, and for future reference, I think you're going to want to know what these lessons are. And so I'm going to change these to variables, and I'm going to we're going to rename this one, and I'll call it arrays and comments, and because we're showing how to comment. And then I think what we should do also here is come in and call it 2-3, so you know it's for both videos. And now it'll be easier for you to track the videos with the with their files to go along with it. If you're coming back after the fact, you'll just be way easier. You're kind of building your own little dictionary. Now, again, I can't tell you enough that I encourage you to play with this stuff, to change this stuff up and see what happens. I'm going to copy these first two lines, and I'm going to make a new file, and I'm going to say lesson 4, and we are going to talk about changing data.php. So I'm going to paste this, and one thing you'll notice is that you actually don't need to end the PHP tags if PHP is the only thing on your page. So you can, in fact, some people recommend not closing it. So we're just going to leave it open. And then I'm going to come over here. So actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it easier. Yeah, I'll do it. On this one, I'll just go ahead and do the whole thing, but I'll probably change the name after the course. That sounds better. Okay, so I've got the page loaded. There's nothing there. And so what we're going to do, we are going to talk about the idea of changing data. And so if I were to do this, if I were to do friend equals Vince, okay, and I save that, obviously nothing's going to happen here. So we're just going to do dump, because it's funny to say that, Vince. Let's see, what did I do? Oh, dump friend. Anybody who's watching it, you saw that. You saw that I was about to make that mistake and you didn't tell me. So my friend is now Vince. If I were to come in here and do friend equals Vince, friend equals John, and save it, you'll see that when I go to dump this variable, the only thing I'm seeing is John. As far as this variable is concerned, Vince doesn't exist, because basically some languages do this differently, but basically you can change this variable as many times as you want. And one of the other things that's kind of interesting is that you can change not only that, in fact, I'll just keep it going here. I can do friend equals 42, and now it became an integer of 42. And so a lot of languages, if you're coming from things like C, you can't just take a variable and change what type it is. And in fact, I can change friend equals, and I can say John, Vince, and 42. And now all of a sudden that same array became that same variable became an array. And so I've got string, integer. And so there's nothing preventing you, and this is good and bad. There's nothing preventing you from changing these types. I have definitely, absolutely reused a variable name without thinking about it on a long PHP page in the middle of something complicated. I'm like, why the heck does my code not work? And it's because I reused a variable name. Especially if I get lazy and I just do a letter or something like that, just I'm in the middle of a loop or something, and I just totally forget in my logic that I've reused a variable name. And so you can actually change what a variable means. Now, going back to our arrays, let's see if we can grab this array over here. So we have this, in fact, I'll take this too. We have this one. I can dump that and I'll save it. And we can see that we have favorite is banana, sourest equals this, and and funniest equals that. So one of the things you can do is I can come in here and change just one element of this array. So I can say fruit, we'll say funniest or funnest is passion fruit. And now when I dump fruit, nope, what did I do? What did I do? So unexpected double arrow, that should be an equal. So I'm basically saying come in here and go to fruit, go to the key of funnest, and make that equal to passion fruit. And then we're going to dump it again. I'm going to save it. And we're going to dump it again. And you'll see that right now I've basically just right in the middle of that array been able to replace that. So the idea of these variables being changeable is a really handy thing. It's something that I use all the time, and we're going to use a bunch in this project. While we're here, I'm going to go ahead and show you just kind of a review of lesson 1. If I were to come in here and do an array, let's do types equals array, and then we'll keep it in one line. So let's say I do 4, comma 4.52, comma this is text, comma true, comma, and then in this situation I'm actually going to put an array inside of an array, and I'm going to say 1, 2, 3 like that. Okay, so I've basically made an array, and I've stuck a 4 in there, which is an integer. I've stuck a decimal number, which is a float. I've stuck this string in there, which is just a string of random text. I've stuck a boolean in there, which is true, and then inside of this thing I also put another variable, and they call it a multi-dimensional array, another array, and so I have 1, 2, and 3 in there. So now if I were to dump types, you're going to get that I have an integer of 4, a float, a string, a boolean, and then another array with an integer of 1, 2, and 3. And so these things are very powerful. Like when you start thinking about, well, if I'm trying to store a user's name, that would be a string. But if I want to store their age, that would be an integer, or maybe a float if you want to get really precise with it. And all of these different things. And so you can store tons of different information in these arrays and do lots of cool stuff with it. So hope you stuck with me this far, and I'm looking forward to the next video.